So, hey, do you know who the musician is who got credit on a Beatles disc?
Yes, of course. That would be Billy Preston.
Yes. A very interesting story. Let's get into it.
Let's do it. Because when we talk about Billy Preston, we're not just, talking about some session player who happened to be in the right place.
No, not at all.
His arrival was, and I don't think this is an exaggeration, a literal intervention. It kind of saved the whole project.
It really did. To get why he was so important, you have to understand the context, just how bad things were in early January of '69.
Volatile is a good word for it. They're in the middle of what they called the Get Back sessions.
Which, of course, becomes the Let It Be album and film.
Right. And the whole idea was to get back to their roots, play live again. But the feeling in the room, it was more like a band breaking up in real time.
And a lot of that was the location, right? Twickenham Studios.
Oh, it was miserable. It was this huge, cold, drafty film studio. It wasn't like Abbey Road, their home base. This was sterile.
And the cameras were always on. I think that's the key detail people forget. You can't just be creative when you know every single argument, every sigh is being recorded for a movie.
Exactly. It's performance anxiety on top of creative tension. And you can hear it, Paul is trying to direct everyone. John is sort of checked out with Yoko.
And George is just feeling completely and utterly sidelined.
Which brings us to the breaking point. The moment it all fell apart, January 10th.
George Harrison just gets up and walks out.
He quits. He just quits the band. He'd had enough of feeling like his songs didn't matter, of being told what to play by Paul.
He even said something like, "See you around the clubs."
Yeah, which just shows how done he was. He was basically saying, I'm a musician. You guys are something else now, and I'm going back to just playing music.
And the other three, they're just left there stunned. The tapes from that day are wild. John immediately suggests, almost flippantly, well, let's get Eric Clapton in.
Right. As if you can just replace George Harrison. It shows you the panic.
But wait, if things were that bad and Clapton was a friend, why didn't they just bring in another musician sooner to kind of ease the tension?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, bringing in someone like Clapton, especially after John suggested it, that would have been seen as a real power move, almost like firing George.
So it would have made things worse.
Exactly.
Okay.
The goal was to get George back, not to replace him. What they needed was a mediator, not another star guitarist.
Okay, that makes sense. So luckily, the crisis didn't last long.
No, just 5 days. George comes back on January 15th, but he has conditions.
The main one being no more Twickenham.
Correct. They had to move. So they relocate to their own new studio in the basement of Apple headquarters on Savile Row.
A much more intimate, comfortable space.
The space was better, yeah, but the tension was still there. It was like they'd put a bandage on a huge wound. It was fragile.
And that fragility sets the stage for January 22nd.
Yeah.
Just a week after George returned.
This is where the story gets incredible, because we need to be really clear about why Billy Preston was even in London.
He wasn't there for the Beatles. Not at all.
No. He was a huge star in his own right. He'd played with Little Richard, with Sam Cooke. He was in town to play on a big BBC special with Ray Charles.
American music royalty.
That's who he was working with. So on the 22nd, he just has a little downtime and decides to pop over to Apple to say hi.
Just a social call. He knew them from the old days, from Hamburg in Germany.
Just old friends catching up. And what's so key here is that Billy has no idea what he's walking into. He doesn't know they're in the middle of this tense, filmed recording session.
He probably just thought he was going to their office.
For all he knew, he was just going to sit in the reception area, have a cup of tea, and catch up.
And then George Harrison happens to walk out of the studio and sees him sitting there.
That's the moment. That's the happy accident. George sees this friendly face, this incredible musician who is, crucially, not part of their drama.
He sees a lifeline.
An instant lifeline. And he doesn't go ask John or Paul. He doesn't have a meeting.
No, he just grabs him.
He basically just pulls Billy into the studio and says, come on, play with us. He sits him down at the electric piano.
It's just this incredibly spontaneous, almost desperate move by George.
And it changes everything. Instantly.
Let's talk about that change, because it was immediate, wasn't it? The first thing was psychological.
Oh, 100%. He was a buffer. All of a sudden, they have a guest in the room. A respected guest.
You can't bicker and be passive-aggressive in front of company.
Exactly. You have to be on your best behavior. Suddenly, John and Paul, who had been at each other's throats, they start acting like professionals again. They stop arguing over every little chord or who should play which bass part.
They remembered their manners.
They did. But beyond that, beyond the etiquette, was the music.
Of course. the music.
Billy Preston was a genius on the Fender Rhodes electric piano and the Hammond organ. He brought this whole new texture, this soulful feeling that was completely missing.
Yeah, think about Get Back. They'd been struggling with that song. It was kind of plodding along.
Right. And Billy sits down and plays that funky, driving electric piano part. It's the whole groove of the song. It just lifts Paul's bass line and the whole rhythm section.
It gives it that energy, that American R&B feel they were aiming for but couldn't quite find on their own.
And then you have a song like Don't Let Me Down.
Oh, yeah.
There, he switches to the Hammond organ, and it's just pure gospel. It adds this incredible depth and soul to John's vocal. It's mournful, but also so supportive. It makes the song.
He wasn't just playing along. He was elevating the material. He gave them the sound they were hearing in their heads but couldn't create with just two guitars, a bass, and drums.
He did. He played on I've Got a Feeling, one after 909.
His presence made them more productive and more focused than they had been in weeks.
Which leads us to that amazing historical footnote. The reason we're even talking about him today.
The credit.
The credit. Billy Preston is the only musician to ever get a shared credit on a Beatles single.
It's huge. Think of all the amazing musicians who played on their records.
The string quartets, the horn players, the entire orchestra on Sgt. Pepper.
All brilliant professionals, all paid session players. None of them got their name on the label.
But the Get Back single says, plain as day, The Beatles with Billy Preston.
It's an admission from them.
Yeah.
It's John and Paul and George saying, this track wouldn't be what it is without this guy. It was more than a session. It was a collaboration.
It was them acknowledging that the band was so broken, they needed a fifth person to make it work again. For a moment, they weren't the Fab Four.
They were the Fab Five. It's really an admission that for those few days, they couldn't quite be the Beatles without him. So when you connect all the dots, the timing is just unbelievable.
It's almost comical. George quits on the 10th.
Returns on the 15th, still on shaky ground.
Then on the 22nd, he just happens to wander into the lobby at the exact moment his old friend, who's in town for a completely different reason, is sitting there.
If Billy had decided to visit a day earlier or a day later, who knows what would have happened?
The whole project might have just fallen apart into arguments. We might not have those classic songs.
And we definitely wouldn't have had his fantastic playing on the rooftop concert, their last ever public performance, that funky electric piano cutting through the cold London air.
It's really the perfect example of how luck, pure chance, can change music history. George didn't go looking for a solution.
No, the solution just walked right in the door.
He needed a peacemaker, and he found one who also just happened to be a world-class keyboardist.
Well, thanks for joining us today. Whenever you feel like knowing more about the Beatles, visit us at BeatlesRewind.com. It's the Beatles, all day, every day, 8 days a week. Cass will do it again tomorrow.
Absolutely, Steve. Talk to you then.
Until next time, when you listen.
Your mind conducts its own symphony.